All right, we are back with another Avian knives. This is the Topaza. This is their second model that they came out with. I did do a video on the Atlas, the very first model they came out with, which was super cool. It was similarly shaped, but had a total tool-less disassembly. Okay, and it was different. It weighed more. This is a featherweight, and we'll talk about the weight in a second. But the other one was different, but it was similarly shaped. It's kind of where the similarities end, actually. So this is named after the topaz hummingbird for its beauty and its lightweight nature of the bird. Because this comes in at 1.62 ounces. So this is VC Edge interface weight class, if you will. And I do not have my VC Edge interfaces here with me today. They have been shipped down to Jason, the owner and maker of VC Edge, for some spot treatment. Nothing really wrong with them other than they have both been passed around several different YouTube channels. I've used the heck out of both of them, and it was just time to get them kind of tuned up and gone through. Jason wants to do some upgrades. I'm not sure what upgrades they are. He hasn't given me a list of upgrades yet. He asked me how much I wanted to spend. I'm like, they're great as they are, but okay, we're not talking about those today. We are talking about this Avian Knives Topaza. Now, I will be honest that I was a little bummed to find out that these are OEM'd by Best Tech. The original ones were custom made, handmade, and they were like $700, give or take. And I'm just going to take my logo and stick it out of the way because it's odd to me. It's the new logo, new stickers, and it's just not used to having it there. I don't know. That might be a little bit gauche to have on the video, I think, all the time. So for this one, this is really a production knife out of China. And I don't know how I feel about that. I have no problem with Chinese-made knives. I no problem at all. I own a bunch and I have no issues. It's just that they were so big on that more custom handmade look of the Atlas that I thought they would carry that through. Okay, that's okay. This is at a much different price point. This is $295. I don't know at the time of filming if these are actually released and you can get them yet or not. I don't think they are. I know Jim Skelton did a video on this one before he sent it to me. I got this from Jim. I need to send it off to somebody else. I don't know who yet. There's a little bit of mark here. I was told to use it. Treat it like it was my own, but be nice to it. And I did. And I don't remember if that little mark in the DLC was there when I got it or if that was me cutting some boxes and stuff like that. Whatever. Stuff happens. So yes, this is a DLC coated blade with a black stonewashed finish on the titanium scales. Now let's just zoom in and take a close look here. There's a lot of good things about this knife. And then there's a couple of things that are not perfect. And we're going to talk about all of that because that's what I do. It's crazy lightweight. It's got this ISO grid, if you will. And that's inspired from a NASA spacecraft that they saw. And they adopted that kind of look here. It also gives it some strength, durability, and really saves weight. Titanium scales, titanium pocket clip, and yes, 1.62 ounces. I got a new scale that goes out to that second decimal mark in the ounces. So I'm super excited about that. The VC Edge, I believe I did do some weights before I shipped them off. One of them is at 1.52. I think it was 1.52 or 1.55. And the other one was at 159 or maybe 162. I don't remember. I may do a follow-up video once I get the VC Edges back. I may do a follow-up video with this. I don't know. I got to talk with Rit, the owner, and ask him where this goes next and when it goes, and things like that. So one little thing, total nitpick, is right here on the log bar cutout. As you go to unlock it, sometimes your finger will brush across that, and it is a little bit of a harsh edge right there at the corner where you can see my gross nails. Okay? I would have softened that out a little bit maybe, but that's again just me. Okay? I am not a knife maker. I'm not a designer. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you my thoughts. The other issue with this one is the detent is a little bit light. There have been times where it has misfired. I'm not going to try to do it, but I can just tell, and it does happen at times. So it's not going to do it right now, of course, but it is a little bit of a light detent. You can reverse finger, spidey flick it, whatever the hell stupid thing you call it. In their paperwork, it does say you can open it with your thumb. Yeah, not really. You really have to turn your thumb around and get it in at just the right angle, and then maybe you can. But yeah, kind of. But I would not categorize this as a thumb opening knife. It's really a flipper tab. It is a very small flipper tab, which is super cool. Really kind of disappears, but it works really well. I would prefer a little bit of a stronger detent on this. The blade is locked up solid. It's a little deceiving because it is such a thin blade and a thin scales that you feel as though it's blade play, but it's really just everything kind of flexing a little bit. I had to take a closer look at that. Speaking of dimensions, let's get into that. It's 4 7/16 closed. 7 9/16 overall. Now the blade, I don't know how people measure their blades. In their paperwork, it says it's 3.3 inches. From the edge of the scale to the tip of the blade, I measured at 3.18. If I measure to the center of the pivot, I get more than 3.3. So I don't know. But I get 3.1 inch blade, 3.18, and a cutting edge of 3.01. Behind the edge is 0.016. The blade thickness is 0.089. It is really thin. It's really slicey. I'm looking here to see if I've got any papers to maybe cut with. I meant to grab some before. I can grab something from my notebook here just to show you how this thing cuts. Blade steel is Magna Cut on this thing, which is super cool. At $295 to get Magna Cut, I think is cool. I think Magna Cut is also the new M390. Okay, this thing will slice and cut. I am not the original owner. Jim Skelton had it first. I don't know who had it before him, but it does cut and works really well. It is super thin and super slicey. All right, weighs in. We talked about that. The overall thickness is just 0.31 minus the clip. It does run on bearings. A couple of weight comparisons. The Spyderco Delica weighs in at 1.48 ounces. I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes wrong. The Spyderco Delica is 2.3 ounces, 1.62. The Olight AAA i3T in just their standard aluminum, I guess it is 1.48. Okay, very similar. And the Duracell D size battery comes in at 5.04 ounces. Now that I have a more accurate scale, I've always called it 5 ounces, which it is. But since we're going in tenths of ounces this time. It's 5.04. Since we got this here, let's do a size comparison. I think the Avian knife Topaza is a good knife. I am probably not going to run out and buy one because it's just not my style. It's a little small with its shorter blade. And it is, while I have carried light knives, okay, 1.62, and I carry the VC Edge interface at 1.6 a lot. This just feels lighter to me because it's smaller, because it's a mind trip, because it's metal, it's titanium, it should be heavy. The VC Edge is all carbon fiber. So you know mentally when you pick up the VC Edge, it's going to be light. When you pick this up, you don't expect it. And it's almost, it's just weird to use and carry because it seems like it's too light. I don't know that we need to make things that light. Okay. Also, you noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but as I flipped this and I went to put my hand, it did get hung up on that lock bar cutout. So sometimes that does happen also. Again, you could soften that up. It does come in different finishes. You got the bead, you get DLC or bead blast on the blade. You've got the dark bead blast or the black stonewash. This is the black stonewash. But you do have a couple of options. They're all the same price or going to be the same price from what I understand. Now, Jim Skelton did a video on this. I have not watched it. I think that was the very premiere only. That's probably the only Topaza video on YouTube right now is Jim Skelton's. Mine will be there by the time you're watching it. There'll be 2 videos because we're the only 2 people to have had one. So I didn't watch his because I didn't want Jim to influence me like he has and spent a lot of my money buying knives that he's recommended. I'm sure he's got nothing negative to say, which is not a bad thing. But I didn't want his opinions to influence me. But I will put a link to his channel up in the corner because I am that kind of a guy. And I'm not here just to promote myself. I'm here for the community and all that. So I will put a link up in the corner to Jim's video on this knife. And I will put a link to my video on the Atlas, the predecessor to this knife from Avian Knives. Let me know your thoughts down below. As much as I'm not a reverse flicker, this just works better that way for me, I think, because the detent is a little bit lighter than I would like. So sometimes it misfires. I think it's a cool knife. I think for $300, it's great. And it is definitely something different than what I would normally carry, weighing in at like 8 ounces, 9 ounces, something like that. I have been carrying the King Battle recently for about 182 days, I think today, or today maybe 183 days. And that comes in at like 11 ounces. So 1.6 versus 11 point whatever, quite a difference. So maybe it's just me that's not really ready for a lightweight knife in my pocket. I don't know. But this one would be a good one for you office carry folks. Nobody's going to complain at the lunch table. You pull this out to open your chips, cut your salami or your apples. So there's definitely a place for it. I think it's cool. And you let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear it. Please comment down below. Lightweight if you made it to the end.